Hey, today we're going to be doing problem 739 daily temperatures. So in this problem you're given an array of integers temperatures and you want to return an array answer that tells you how many days you have to wait until you get a warmer temperature. So for example, you're given this array. On day 1 it's 73 degrees, on day 4 on day 2 it's 74, on day 3 it's 75, and so on and so forth. Your output looks like this because on the first day you're at 73 degrees and you have to wait 1 day until you get a warmer temperature. So you put 1 right there. On the second day it's 74 degrees and you have to wait 1 day until it's 75 degrees, which is a 1 right there. On the third day it's 75 degrees and you'll actually have to wait 4 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, until you get a temperature of 76, which is higher than 75. So for this problem we're going to want to use a stack. So let's give ourselves a stack with plenty of room to work with. And we're also going to want to initialize a res array with a 0 for every single day. This is going to be the array that we return. And by default, we're going to assume that the base case is that there are no days that are warmer than the day at index I. So now what we want to do is we want to iterate through temperatures. And so we're on the first day. So, well, since it's our first item and we don't have anything on the stack, we're going to push it to the stack. What we're actually going to push is a tuple with the first element being the index of the temperature and then the second element being the temperature itself. And so now we're going to be on the second item of temperatures. We see that 74 is a greater temperature than 73, so what we can do is we can pop it from our stack. And now we want to edit the resulting array to show that we have found a warmer date at this index. Well, how do we get this index? We have it from our popped node. And so what we need to do is we need to change this index, but how do we show that we took 1 day to find a warmer temperature? We can get the index of the current item being processed in temperatures. So that would be 1, and then we subtract the index of the popped item on our stack, so that would be 0. So we would replace index 0 of our res array with 1. Finally, we want to append the tuple with the index and the value to the stack. Now we can move on to 75. Now we see that 75 is greater than 74, so we can once again pop it from our stack. We get the index of the res element that we want to change with this right here. So we're going to want to change index 1 of the res array, and we can get how many days have passed by doing the index of the current temperature being processed, which is 2, subtracted by our popped index, which is 1. So once again, that's going to be equal to 1. So we need to change index 1 of res to 1. And finally, we're going to add the tuple to our stack, and then we can move on to the next one. Now we see that 71 is lower than 75, so we can go ahead and just continue to add it to our stack and move on to the next element. We see that 69 is also smaller than 71 and 75, so we can go ahead and add it to our stack. And then we see 72. Now 72 is going to be bigger than 69. So we could pop 69 from our stack. And now we know that we need to edit index 4 of this res array. and we can get the amount of days that have passed by taking the index of the temperature that's being processed right now, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, subtract it from the index of the pops, so 4. So it's been 1 day since the day that we got a temperature of 69 before we found a warmer temperature. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, change that to 1. Now we're not done yet because 72 is still greater than 71. So now, once again, we're going to pop 71 from our stack. We need to 0, 1, 2, 3, change index 3 of the res array from 0 to 5 minus 3 is equal to 2. So we need to change this to 2. And then we're able to proceed because 72 is greater or less than 75. So we add it to our stack. Then we move on to 76. '76 is going to be greater than 72, so once again we can pop 72 from our stack. We know that we're going to be editing element 5 of the res array, and we can do 6, which is the index of the current temperature being processed, minus 5 is equal to 1. So we change element 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, element 5 of res array to 1. And we also see that 76 is greater than 75, so we can now finally pop 75 from our stack. So now we can finally edit element 2 of the res array, which we can do 6 minus 2 is equal to 4, so we change this to 4, and then we can add it to our stack. So 6, and then finally 73, which is also added to our stack because it's not greater than any temperatures that we have in our stack. And once you hit the end of the temperatures array, you're pretty much done, and you just return your res array. So the time complexity of this is going to be, since we're only looping through temperatures once, it's going to be O of n, and our space complexity is going to be O of n because we have to build this res array. Now we can move on to the coding portion. So first you want to initialize your res array, and you can actually do 0 for I in a range length of the temp. So what this will do is it'll give you a res array of, oh, I gotta add. So what this is gonna do is it's gonna give you a res array of zeros, and it's gonna be 1, 0 for the length of temperature. So let's print this out. So you can see right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 zeros and 8 temperatures. Then you're going to want to initialize your empty stack. And here you can start looping through temperatures. And you're going to want to do an index loop so that you can capture the index and the value of the item to put in a tuple to append to your stack. You can also use enumerate here if you want, if that's cleaner for you. So we're going to check the sort of the base case, which is if the stack is empty, then you can just append the first item to the stack and temperatures. Call it a day. Oh, well, at least for the first item. And I think the format that we agreed on is the index first and then temperatures and then the element next. Otherwise, if the stack isn't empty and you find that you have a greater temperature than the temperature at the top of your stack. You can pop your stack, and then using the popped item from the stack's index as a res reference, you can do the calculation that we talked about, where you subtract the index of the current item being processed in temperatures and the popped item, the index of the popped item. And then finally, you have to append the item being processed to your stack as a tuple. Finally, at the end, you can return your res array when you're done looping through the temperatures array. So let me reformat this to make this look right. Temp isn't defined. Oh, this is in the index. So it would be 0. Okay. And that's your problem.